Right, so welcome back to another video. I am now back from my small little break. I had some tests I had to deal with in school, and I didn't really have a lot of time to make videos. But now I have the time to make videos, and let's just get right into it. So I'm gonna be talking about, Israel-Palestine again, because that's the main thing that's going on right now. So I'm gonna talk about that. Before I actually get into the main topic of the video, I'm going to talk a bit about the bombings of specifically the hospital in Gaza as well as the Greek Orthodox Church. Both obviously both very tragic, very horrible. You know, it's terrible that they bombed the. Well, it's horrible that those two places were bombed. Um, the Greek Orthodox Church. It was called Porphyrius, and there were many civilians who were hiding from the bombings, and that place got hit by a missile. Many were wounded, many were killed. Horrible. If I'm not mistaken, it was a 12th century church, pretty old church for you know churches, but no, very horrible. Uh, it's just I it just always makes me sad when something old and ancient just gets destroyed, especially you know in the Middle East where a lot of very ancient things are, and that's also sadly where the most uh, bombings, missile strikes, and wars happen, and a lot of them aren't against bombing uh, sacred places, which obviously I and everyone else should be condemning. Uh, and the hospital bombing now, uh, everyone knows about the hospital bombing. I'm not gonna touch too much about it because you can't really say yet who striked it, if it was Hamas or if it was Israel. For us to actually understand and know who did it, what we would need is a mission from the UN to go and talk with both sides, go to the military commanders, see what's written in their logs, because everyone has logs, especially um, people in the military. They keep logs, and if they, take it, read it, maybe one of them says that we're going to bomb the hospital, and they're like, oh, okay, well, we have the proof, or the satellite imagery, or whatever. Many different ways to figure out, how it actually happened, the specifics. But until there's an actual, mission from third party states, as in like a collectiveness of the UN, we won't know what happened, which this could take maybe a month, maybe a couple weeks to know the true story. So we will probably know eventually what happened. So I'm gonna be talking about the prospects of an escalation in the conflict and what that actually means. So uh, again, there were pamphlets, you know, like dropped in the air to the people in North Gaza, and they said again that if you haven't already evacuated from the north of Gaza, then you should probably do it because we're going to attack. Now, this is after Joe Biden leaves Israel, where he had a talk with President Netanyahu. And if I'm not mistaken, that was before he gave the actual address to the American people when he went back to the US. But I don't think that timing actually matters that much. It's just important to know. But it's obvious that the actual storming of the north of Gaza is going to be very a very difficult and long process. Uh, because it's a very populated area, very thick, you know, populate. I said that wrong. Uh, very high population density. That's what I meant to say. So yeah, very high population density there. Urban area, and a lot of people in the military. They always say that the worst type of fighting is the urban warfare because just so many people, so much just places where people can shoot, hide, the underground tunnels, especially that are prevalent all around Gaza. It's just going to be a horrible, horrible situation. And uh, what will happen is that Israel's going to be bogged down for a very, very long time. And this will take a lot of resources and possibly, not possibly, most definitely a lot of lives, which is obviously not good. And the problem, wow, I'm getting a lot of things wrong now. I just realized I have been using the wrong mic. It has been 6.5 minutes. I'm very sorry about that. Hopefully you can hear me better now. So where was I? Yeah. So yeah, Israel will be bogged down in Gaza for a very long time. This will leave a lot of casualties for both sides, and this will be a very long and draining and expensive operation. Apparently, the Israelis already have like they call it a three-step plan for this, but the issue is that uh, no one knows what's gonna happen after the operation. Uh, no one's really talking about that. Anyone who asks about it, they're just like, I don't know. So let's see what happens with that. Uh, and also, it's important to understand that if there is an actual storming of Gaza, that will very, very likely pull Lebanon into the war with Hezbollah as well. Because, right now, there's just a lot of shelling and missile strikes going on from both sides in the north of Israel. And if there's an actual storming of Gaza, then Lebanon and Hezbollah will most definitely uh, start attacking with actual soldiers into the north of Israel, and Israel might have to defend, will have to defend against that. Or Israel already knows that, you know, Lebanon's going to attack, so they might as well instantly, at the same time as they're fighting in Gaza, they might just themselves open a second front immediately in Lebanon, which is, in my opinion, more unlikely because they don't want to be, shown as aggressors. Um, if it has anything to do, if it has nothing to do with, Palestine, because we can tell they're very much fine with being the aggressors. They say that they're not, but even by saying that they're not, they're saying that we have to defend ourselves in any way, shape, or form, and with any means possible. So they're just bombing the hell out of Gaza, but I doubt that they would actually begin the second front. But they might, just have really, really well defensive positions. A lot of anti-air systems turned on, specifically in the north. And that'll just be a two-front war. The prospects of any other nations getting dragged into that specific conflict, I doubt. Although it's important to understand uh, if that starts internationally, what's going to be happening. So, uh, with those, if there's an actual storming of Gaza, an operation, when that begins, I'm very certain that there'll be a lot of movement and bombings in the U.S. bases in uh, Syria and as well as the Kurdish bases in Iraq, and we can already see that happening because there's been many strikes, not only by the Iraqi side but from Turkish side, in the Kurdish, uh, how would I put it? In just the Kurdish controlled areas, not only in Iraq but in Syria. But the U.S. bases have also been getting bombed by some kamikaze drones recently. So if there's an actual operation, I'm very certain that those bombings will get more frequent, and they might try to entirely just kick out or kill every U.S. soldier in those bases, which means a lot, obviously, because U.S. helping Kurds, war in Syria, all of that, very very long, uh, wars that led up to them to be where they are now. There, it's not like it's a lot, but it's still something. And for them to lose that in the Middle East, the U.S. is not going to like that. But the issue with all of this is that this very much could lead. A lot of people underestimate how close we are to like a global war happening right now. I'm not saying that it's gonna happen, but this is the closest that we've gotten in recent years. Because the Middle East, it's a type of place where just anything could happen, really. Uh, if any conflict was going to start world like another world war, it would definitely be in the Middle East. But either way, there's U.S. warships in the Eastern Mediterranean. Uh, Russia responded to that by saying that we're going to send our warships there. Not according to Putin. He says this is not a threat. This is just a warning that we're not going to sit by and just let you bring your ships to the area. And even recently, China, if I'm not mistaken, they sent six of their warships, themselves stating that they're worried that this conflict could escalate even more to a bigger global conflict. Now, the the issue with all of this is that the only country that can stop this war, well, as in the only country left that who needs to want to stop this, is the United States. The issue with that is that, the best way I can put it is the grown-ups aren't really in the US anymore. They used to be, not anymore. They don't got any more diplomats anymore. No one who actually wants to do diplomacy, you know. They just got all of those warmongering neocons who just like are completely fine with the prospects of war happening in the Middle East and are actually very happy about it because this means that they could have another chance in Syria to overthrow Assad again. Uh, they can finally have their war with Iran. And all of this obviously will be disastrous for the entire world because that would lead to a, global war, a world war. Uh, I don't really like saying, it's going to lead to a world war. Let's just say it's going to lead to a very, very big conflict. Yeah, that's a nice way to put it. Very big conflict, war. Uh, and the U.S. is completely fine with that. Joe Biden, he's been deteriorating even more by the second. He was deteriorating before, but now he's even more deteriorating. You could see that, in his speech to the American people. He is even more than normal, slurring his words, making no sense. And the U.S. just doesn't have the like leaders and leadership that they used to have, which it's crazy in the history of the U.S. It's never been a point where it's just been this bad when we're talking about presidents. It's wild to me, honestly. I just stupid people, man. I don't know what to tell you. But now, going on to the actual the actors trying to actually stop this conflict diplomatically are mainly the BRICS nations. In this case, I'm going to be talking about what Russia and Brazil have been doing. This is actually a really interesting plan. Very, very interesting. So, a couple days ago, uh, Russia, they uh, mm, yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, there was a uh, Russian proposal for a resolution on the Gaza conflict, and this was vetoed by, if I'm not mistaken, it was a lot of member states abstained, but ones who actually uh, vetoed it was the U.S. Actually, I'm not that sure. Let me pull that up now. All right, so there were 5 votes in favor of it. China, Gabon, Mozambique, Russia, and the UAE. Then there was 4 who were against it: France, Japan, the UK, and the United States. And then 6 abstaining, those being Albania, Ecuador, Ghana, Malta, Switzerland, and most importantly, in my opinion, and well, in most people's opinion, is Brazil. Because now, you think about it and you're like, Brazil, what's up with Brazil abstaining? Why would they abstain? They're very close with Russia, and China as well. Why would they abstain? Well, this has to do with the fact that Russia knew that this was gonna get vetoed by the West, being being pushed by the U.S. The vetoing, and when they got the reason for the veto, which according to the United States was, uh, you didn't condemn Hamas in your resolution. So what did Brazil do? They put up their own resolution to the Gaza conflict in the UN, and in there they said we're gonna condemn Hamas. And again, the U.S. Rejected it. So it's a very interesting thing. And they're like, well, why'd you do it this time? And they couldn't give an answer to the reason on why they rejected the appeal. Not appeal, sorry, the resolution. Uh, and they're just gonna, and they might eventually give up a reason. And if they give a reason, then Russia, who also abstained to the voting with the this resolution, is so that they can give another resolution and edit that to the US's liking until they don't have a choice. I mean, this is not going to happen. The US isn't going to eventually accept this, but they're just going to keep doing this until it becomes a huge document uh, filled with just a bunch of random stuff, and then they're gonna push this through the. Yeah, sorry about that again. Jeez, I'm very rusty already. It's not like I was good before, but whatever. Either way, so then they'll try to push this appeal through the instead of the Security Council, they're probably going to try to push this through the General Assembly, which has like less importance as a document than in the Security Council, although it still has some legal bounds. So the resolution, it's still going to have some effect, and obviously has to do with the fact that if both sides want peace, and the issue with that is that they don't. Neither side wants peace because in Israel's eyes, you know, their goal is to destroy Hamas and to an extent to get rid of Palestine, Palestinian question, just get rid of it. And for Hamas, the entire reason that they were able to become uh, like they were able to gain control of Gaza was because that they told the people that they would never give up and they would continue fighting no matter what. Uh, so that's the situation. So thanks for watching. That was the video. Hope you got something out of that. And do not forget to condemn war crimes no matter what they are, who does it, and where they are. Thanks. Bye bye.